The latest project is called When You Love Somebody, and it was written by a friend, a young man that my one of my sons went to school with. He was having a meeting with him because he wanted to get some advice about helping one of his friends get into the music industry. And I was with my son that day, and we had meetings, and we were on our way back to Las Vegas, where we live. We were in LA. So I said, Mama, got to stop in the studio and talk to Emil right quick. And I said, okay. So we went in, they had their meeting afterwards. He said, you know, Miss Williams, I love your voice. I always have loved you. Would you mind if I played you a couple of tracks? And if you hear anything, maybe we can write something together. And he put on the first track. I didn't hear anything. He put on the second track, and I kind of, kind of like, when you love somebody. And I said, and you dance, and you dance. And I said, oh, I like that one. So he put it down. A week later, he sent me the track and asked me for some lyrics. I sent him some lyrics. A week later, he sent me a demo of the song. And he said, Miss Williams, I really would love it if you would come in and put, a vocal down. I said, okay, I should be back in LA in about 2 weeks and I'll come in. And I did. I went in, I put it down, left the studio with it on my phone and on my computer. And about a month later, I was with some cousins, and they were my cousins and their children. I said, let me see if you guys like this song. And so I put it on, played it for them, and they started singing it and dancing. So I called Emil back. I said, Emil, we may have something. What do you think? He said, I told you all the time, Miss Williams, this is a hit song. I said, okay. And that's how the song started. I had been telling my children for 2 years, it's time for me to retire. It's time for me to retire. I said, Mom, you can't retire. You can't retire. I said, yeah, it's time to retire. And then I was saying to myself, okay, that's it. I haven't had a new song out in about 10, 12 years. And then here comes this song. I said, we make plans, God laughs, because he said, you're not done. So here we are. Also in the studio with George Duke when my management called and said, Columbia's doing a soundtrack for this film Footloose, and they've got one song left, and they want to know if you want to hear it. And I said, sure, I'd love to hear it. So we go over and we hear the song, and I fell in love with it, but George Duke said, we're not going to do that record. We're not going to do that song. I said, come on, George, we got to do the song. And a week later, we're not doing that song. And I said, listen, we're going to do the song. So I tell people in my show that, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. And she can turn that head any way she wants to when she put her mind to it. So instead of talking to the head, talking to George, I went to his wife, Corrine. I said, Corrine, I want to do this song, and George is refusing to do it with me. She said, baby, don't worry about it. I'll fix it. 1 week later, we were in the studio recording songs. And 15 million plus sales later, it was incredible. I had just read an article talking about how wonderful of a balladeer I was. And I was saying to George, I could do an up-tempo song. I could do a bona fide up-tempo song. So I'm grateful that we got to do it. And it was the biggest hit for my career and the biggest hit in his career too. Well, I was on the road with Earth, Wind, and Fire, but we had a break. And once again, I got a call from management saying, Johnny Mathis wants to do a duet. His very first time doing a duet. And so they're looking at all the ladies on the record label, and they want to know if you're interested. And I said, to sing with Johnny Mathis? Of course. I mean, I was only on my second CD project, my second music project. And of course, he was huge legend. And I finally went in the studio to work with John, and I said, I've been watching you on the television on Mike Douglas and Dinah Shore and all of those television shows since I was a little girl. So basically, I've been in rehearsals for a long time to get here and sing with you in person. And he was just wonderful. I tell people, because it's the truth, Johnny Mathis has been one of the most humble people in the industry that you will ever meet. As much success as he has, he is so wonderfully nice and so wonderfully humble. And he made me feel so comfortable. He said, I don't sing with people, but you sang with Stevie Wonder and Roberta Flack. He said, so just tell me what to sing. And I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. But we had so much fun. And of course, it was a number one, each one of us, our first number one pop hit. Interesting. My cousin John, who lived in Detroit, when he turned 14, he would come to Gary, Indiana, where I lived, and he would visit his grandmother because his grandmother and my grandmother were sisters. And so John would come through the summers, and every summer he would be bragging, I know Stevie Wonder, I know Stevie Wonder. And I said to John, I said, listen, everybody who live in Detroit said they know Stevie Wonder. You need to stop lying, Pinocchio, your nose is gonna grow. And he said that to me for 6 years. And after 6 years, I was away in college. He says, oh, Steve's coming to town to do a concert. You want to come to the show? And I said, yeah, sure. So he got me tickets and backstage pass. He called me, say, okay, your ticket and your backstage passes are there at the theater. And I went and I met Stevie. And then a year later, I was talking to John on the phone, and he said, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. I'm not, college is kicking my behind. I don't know what to do. He said, come to have an audition for Stevie. He's doing auditions. I said, really? I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. So they paid for me to Detroit. I auditioned, and out of 22 or 23 singers, I was one of 3 that was chosen to tour with Stevie, and I toured with him for 3.5 years. And then right after leaving him, I had another friend that was used to call me for commercials, Patty Austin. And Patty Austin said, oh, Roberta's going on tour. If you're not working with Stevie, why don't you come on tour with me with Roberta? And I did, and she was fabulous. And I learned a lot from her. What an incredible musician, incredible lady. And so I had the opportunity to work with 2 very incredible people before I launched my solo career. I was over in London doing a theater piece called Mama, I Wanna Sing. Chaka Khan had been doing it, and she was going in the studio, and they called me and said, would you be interested in coming over and doing it? And I said, sure. So me and 3 of my 4 sons moved to London and went over to do the theater piece. And after 2 months, it was closing. And right before it ended, and I was saying, okay, time to go back to California, time to go back home. I one night at the theater piece, producer from Radio 2, BBC Radio 2, came and said, we have this show that we started, but our host is leaving, and we wanted to know if you'd be interested in doing the radio show. And I said, why not? And so I did my own show, the Deniece Williams Show, on BBC Radio 2 for 3.5 years there. And then when I came home, I did it for another 3 years. We would pre-record the show. So I had my own radio show with the BBC for about 6, almost 7 years. When I was in high school, my math teacher, during my senior year, my math teacher owned a record store in Gary, Indiana, where I'm from. And so I went to him and I said, I need money to go to college. I'm going to go and get a student loan. I said, but I want to go to college and I need a job. Is it possible, if it's okay with my mom, that I could work in the record store after school for a couple of hours? And he said, sure, let me talk to your mom. So he talked to my mom, and my mom said, yes, she can work up to 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours after school every day. And so I would go to the record store and I'd be spinning records. I'd be playing the Supremes, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Aretha Franklin, and I'd be in there singing by the records. And so one day I didn't know that my math teacher / owner had come to the record store through the back where we kept all of the records. And so he heard me singing and he came in, he says, I didn't know you could sing like that. And I said, well, you would know that I could sing if you came to church, because I was singing in church. I said, so because you don't come to church, you don't know that I sing. And so he went and talked to my mom. He said, I'd like to bring some people over from Chicago to listen to Deniece sing. Is that okay? And my mom said yes. So they came over and they signed me to a record label, Bottling Town Records, out of Chicago. And it was Barbara Acklin and Eugene Records of the Shy-Lights who wrote my very first hit called Love is Tears. And so it came out regionally at the very same time that my first regional hit came out. My only regional hit came out. The Jackson Five came out with You're a Big Boy Now, No More Daddy's Little Man. And so we both had our initial uh, getting into the business on record together, me with the Jackson Five.
Yes.
My mother was an incredible singer, and everything that I do, my high, the skipping around, everything that I do is what I mimic from my mother. My mother would never sing in public. She wouldn't even sing in church, but she would sing in the shower. And I'd be standing outside of the shower listening to her, and she'd be going, and I'd be in the corner copying everything that my mom did. So the majority of what you hear me doing is my mom, and my dad had a beautiful singing voice as well. Neither one of them sang, but I would listen to them and I would sing. And then I have my son Forrest is out. His stage name is EQ, and he's a part of a group called the Combine. And their first song just came out this week. I am so happy for them. So my son sings, and he's an incredible, incredible songwriter. Um, and my youngest son has beautiful, beautiful voice. My other two sons, older sons, are writing for television and doing documentaries. So we're quite a creative family. And my sister even sang for Lou Rawls for background for Lou Rawls for several years. So music runs in our family. We're creative. I mean, I was asking God for a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant. I'll be finishing. I'll release my project. It's called Gemini. And the reason why I called it that is because I have gospel on it, I have R&B on it, I have pop on it, and I have jazz on it. So what you're doing is you're getting an overview of who I am as a musician, as a total musician. There's not one side. And all of those genres have influenced me, even classical music, where my high school music teacher was very much into classical music. He was a violinist. And so being around him a lot, I listened to classical music quite a bit. And I remember that Stevie Wonder sent us to a vocal coach. And after 2 vocal lessons, he and his wife invited me to come over and said, we think you could be an incredible classical singer with your octaves and stuff. And I said, and they said, we would train you for free, but we really see how you could be incredible in that music genre. And I said, I would love that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. But I already got babies. Baby needs shoes, and you got to be over 40 and fat to sing, to succeed in classical music. That is not true, but that was my thinking at that time. And I said, no, thank you. But uh, they really saw me going into classical music, but I just love music, period. I have to admit that I have a hard time with the rap, not so much musically of what I hear. A lot of what they do musically, I think is very inventive and very unique, but I have a lot of times with what they say. And I'm now just getting used to some of them that are, some of them are poets. And so I can listen to the message. But I'm very, very critical of song because I'm a songwriter, and my son's a songwriter growing up around Stevie and being in that, seeing where poetry plus music equals song. So I don't have a particular favorite type. I love country music. That's the only thing I haven't done. The one thing, that project that I'm working on now is the project that I really want to go out and do. I came up with an idea 3 years ago about what would happen if Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, and Pearl Bailey bumped into each other one night at a club. So I'm now hired, my partner and I are going to be producing, and we've now hired a writer, Nambi Willis and Surrett Williams too. Surrett's going to direct, and Nambi's going to write. And we've got a music supervisor now. We just hired a company to go and get music from Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, and Pearl Bailey. And the theater piece is called Live at the Crescendo Club. And I am just excited to go out and do that. I'm reaching out to my friends, you know, Dee Dee Bridgewater, reaching out to Jill Scott, reaching out to a bunch of artists that Patty Austin that could sing this music. I think it's going to be a tremendous thing. So we're looking to take the theater piece out on the road next year and then find some homes where we can sit for a while. West End, you know, off Broadway, Broadway, hopefully. But I'm just excited about this piece because these women changed, especially with Sarah and Ella, changed the face of jazz music during a very horrendous and difficult time. Um, Pearl Bailey went and did Hello Dolly behind Carol Channing and still won a Tony for her version as well. And I don't feel like the young people in the industry really know that they stand on these shoulders. And we want this theater piece to speak to how we stand on their shoulders and the life that they led in the 1950s and 40s and having to go through what they had to go through to become the superstars that they were and are. So I'm excited to do that theater piece. And I was such a huge fan of Ella, huge fan of Sarah Vaughan. And so to be able to sing that music, it's just, I'm like so excited to go out with this piece and breathe new life into this music.